I think we can start. Good morning to everyone. I warmly welcome you at our discussion dedicated to collaboration between project partners and local society for green recovery and more sustainable regions. My name is Kristina Bosavic and I represent Joint Secretariat of the Interreg South Baltic Programme. And we would like to start this event with small warm-up activity just to get to know the audience. So I will ask my colleague Mate to share his screen. Please use the link that you can see on the chat. Take your phone or other device and go to menti.com and type the code that you can see on the top of your screen. It's just on the top, more on the right side. And after you go to this website, tap on the heart on the screen so we can see how many participants we have. So I can see the first registered participant. Let's wait a few more seconds to give possibility to other people to register. Four participants already. You can use your phone or any other device for that. We have 6 participants. Let's wait a few more seconds. Okay, I think we can start with the questions. And the first one is, what country are you from? Please type your answers. So the participants are mainly from Poland and Lithuania, Germany. So we are mainly from Baltic Sea region. And the second question, what type of organization do you represent? So, okay, so some people from NGOs, from Interreg program bodies, private entities, and other public bodies. Thank you very much for that. So now we know which countries do we represent and which organizations. As you know, the main topic of the 12th Annual Forum of EUSBSR is green recovery. And of course, COVID-19 pandemic changed not only our life and habits, but also the environment around us. And I think that successful, smooth, and inclusive green transformation is needed in the light of climate change and current circumstances, meaning the pandemic. And in my opinion, by boosting stronger cooperation within the Baltic Sea region, we can find possible solutions and also to adapt to the processes that are already taking place. And as all of us are influenced by climate change and the pandemic, it is important not only to strengthen cross-border cooperation by implementing projects and cooperation between different institutions, but also by involving local population into process. And that's why during our workshop, we will talk how the cross-border projects can effectively involve local society, youth, and local authorities in activities for green recovery. And that's why we invited 5 speakers from different projects engaged into green technologies and environmental protection, skills and labor development, and education services for different target groups, and connecting and involving institutions to establish future partnerships. And today our speakers will present concrete examples of actions in local community collaboration and their engagement, as well as the impact of this community's activities on sustainable development and the regions. So today our speakers are Monika Klein, chairperson in Media Design Association in Poland, David Christensen, project manager of BOFA, which is waste management company from Denmark, Magda Leszczyna-Rzucidło, head of International Permanent Secretariat in Association of Polish Communities of Euro-Region Baltic, Dorota Peć, professor at University of Gdańsk, and Christopher Mayer, project coordinator at University of Applied Sciences in Wismar, Germany. So now we will have panel discussion, which will be continued with Q&A session, and my colleague Mate will moderate panel discussion. So please, Mate, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Krisha, and thank you very much for all panelists and attendees that are being here, and also people that watch online. My name is Mate Salok. I'm a project officer in Interreg South Baltic, and I have the honor to moderate today's panel discussion. A few words about the structure before we start. We were planning 10 minutes presentations by each participant about their project and activities in terms of green recovery and the local society, addressing the local society. Then we will continue with a moderated discussion. And then, of course, there will be a possibility to ask questions by the audience. And then we will conclude. So let's start. As a beginning, I'm virtually turning to Monika, who is chairperson in Media Design Poland. That is a very active organization in our program because it's involved in many projects, namely CTCC, Creative Traditional Companies Cooperation, Creative Clusters, Johan and Johanna. All these projects addresses tourism industries and creative industries. So let's focus first on the creative industries. Monika, could you please tell us why local actors, local citizens, and the youth are crucial in creative industries? And could you please tell us how did you address these stakeholders in your projects in CTCC or in creative clusters? Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me here. It's very nice to see you again, and welcome all the participants. Yeah, just like our association and the incubator of art and creative industry that we run in Szczecin. This is the west-north part of Poland, very close to the German border. We mostly deal with the creative industry, the creative and the culture industry, and we use it as a basis for different subjects. So tourism is one of those, but also innovation, cooperation with the companies, the maritime industry. So this is what we are, we are using this subject. Why the creative industries are so fancy, let's say, and just involve so many stakeholders. Creative industries is a very wide subject. So under the creative industry, we have music production, video production, theater, advertisement, design, fashion design, graphic design, etc. So like very many subjects. And as you can imagine, these creative industries are very special industries because they are not only focus on the money creation, so on the financial income, but creative industries are so special that they are causing the social change. So if you have a strong creative industry, the creative and cultural industries in your region, it means that the people feels somehow, the local citizens, they feel somehow special about the place that they are living. So they're proud of the place where they come from. So when you have, for example, some movie production, and then you can see your city, your town, your region on the big screen, you feel somehow proud that you are coming from that place. And creative industries also generates the job, not only for the creative people, but for very many competences and skills. So like coming back to the film production, let's say, so when we are talking about the film production, of course we have this top with the directors, actors, scenographers, dancers, but then you have like plenty of people. Sometimes when you are looking at the screen and you see the end titles for the movie production, sometimes you see that it's like 20,000 people working for the movie. So you need the catering, you need hotels, you need taxi drivers, accountants, people who clean after that, drivers. So very many people with very different competences. So why just when we are doing the projects that are about the creative industry and the culture industries, it's very easy for us, maybe easier than in other subjects, to involve the local people, because they would like to see culture. So they are like this, let's say, passive participants of what we are doing. So they're coming to see the exhibition, they're coming to watch some kind of conference we are doing, but also it's easy for us to involve the people to be at the backstage. So the people who are preparing all this process, because we need very many of those, and with the very many competences. And it's attractive, especially for the young people. It's super attractive to be part of a huge exhibition and be a part of that and prepare this, but also for the older people, because this is also with whom we are cooperating. So with the seniors, with people who are like above 65, 70, they have plenty of time, and they're very dedicated to come to us and help us in this process. So in frame of the CTC project, in frame of the Creative Cluster project, we are doing very many activities for the local community, involving, of course, international approach into that. So one of those was the conference that calls Design Plus. We are doing that for 5 years already. This is the huge conference about the creative industries and how the creative industries involve other sectors. And when I was thinking about that, we were cooperating before the pandemic. So 2019, when we still could meet offline, we were cooperating with the Academy of Art, and we had 15 students working with us. And during this conference, everyone got little responsibility. So we had the panelists who are coming from different countries, from Denmark, from Sweden, from Germany. Chris was there in Szczecin with us. So very many panelists. So every student had a responsibility. So he was the host, or she was the host for the panelist. They had to just show the city, say something about where they come from, what they are doing, and just take care of this panelist. And for them, it was a big deal, because they didn't have to come to the organization and make a coffee, as for the internship, it's sometimes the case that they're coming and just making the coffee for the rest of the team. They had this responsibility to just really show our place, our city, to the guests from different countries. Another one, it calls the Global Jam, and this is the event that we are conducting also every year. And this is the event that we are using design approach to design new solutions, the green solution, the sustainable solution. And what is fancy and about that is that in the same time, all over the world for 48 hours. People are working on the same subjects and designing the solutions for the better future. And it's also, you know, like as you can see, you know, for the young people, it's also something that is very attractive. So it's not so difficult for us to attract the local actors, to invite them and work together. So creative industries and the culture industries are very yeah, well, let's say it's not easy, it's always difficult, but I think it's easier than in other subjects to attract the local actors.
Thank you very much, Monika, for these introductions, and we will come back with some more direct questions after the first round. So now I'm turning to David, and now we will talk about a bit more traditional services, which is waste management, because David is project manager in BOFA, which is waste management company in Bornholm, and the partner in our Wasteman project, which focuses on implementing integrated waste management system with the involvement of local citizens, local people. So I would like to ask you, David, to please tell us what integrated waste management system exactly is, what is the role of the local population, and how did you involve them into the project? The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Maciej, and thank you for the Joint Secretariat's invitation for me to share experiences from the Wasteman project on this forum. Yeah, BOFA is a project partner in the Wasteman project, and I'm manning it. And it's important to say also in this connection that yes, we are a waste management company. We're also a municipal unit. We're actually part of the municipality. So yes, we provide waste services, but we also have a responsibility as a waste management authority to ensure that the provision of services is in accordance with citizens' expressed needs and acceptable within the socioeconomic framework conditions of what they're willing to pay for in terms of these kind of services. So that's an important departure point for this. And it's true in the project that we work with integrated waste management systems as a concept. In fact, we put an S in there. We use the term integrated sustainable waste management systems. This is what we're trying to work towards and develop within the Wasteman project. And when you have a look at that, Maciej, that was your question, what does that mean? Well, waste is very tangible, right? It's something you throw away, it's very physical, but you can try to look at it in as more than that. You can look at it as a very physical waste chain where waste gets produced by households, then it gets collected and transported, then it gets maybe sent to a transfer site, then it gets transferred again to different other localities where it gets certain waste streams get recovered from it, and otherwise it gets treated, whether it's incineration, which we don't like, or landfilling, which we don't like either, or maybe it gets recycled or reused. And to begin with, maybe it's best if waste is even avoided, so that we don't even have a waste stream. We're working towards recycling, reuse, and waste avoidance, and that's sort of a common ground for all project partners in that project. And that's one aspect of an integrated sustainable waste management system. But when you mean integrated, you mean that it makes sense across the chain. So what people sort in the beginning makes sense for the recycling facilities and the people downstream who are able to actually receive these kind of waste streams and turn it into something that's valuable for society at large. But that's only the technical part of it. On top of this, we have stakeholders. Stakeholders need to be included at various points in this different part of the chain, especially for us as BOFA, when we have the responsibility to provide waste collection services to citizens. We need to include them on board. That's a very important aspect of what we do, and we have to make sure what we do leads to clean waste fractions that can be recycled, but also, like I said before, needs to be socially acceptable. And also it needs to all these systems need to work with the stakeholders, but also need to work with the framework conditions provided by national legal frameworks, but also the EU. The EU came out with a Circular Economy Action Plan back in 2015, which meant that all member states need to start looking towards really stepping up their actions and efforts to increasing recycling rates. So this Wasteman project feeds into that. We have an overarching EU objective of reaching high recycling rates for different fractions. how does this play out on the ground? How do we include people in this decision making when it leads to concrete changes on the ground in the way we collect waste? And if I may share my screen just for a minute here, I can show you how that becomes very tangible in the Wasteman project. So what you see here, is it full screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you so much. So here's an example of a very physical kind of approach to a waste system, and this is what we work with in Wasteman. You have waste collection at the household. We also have recycling centers. This is where citizens just put it in the bin at their entryways, and this is where they travel to. We have 6 recycling centers of this kind in Bornholm, in our locality in the Baltic Sea. We're an island. But the idea is, in the Wasteman project, would it be able to think of a waste system infrastructure where some of the waste is collected in shared waste collection points? That's a proposition, but would that be socially acceptable? Would we get even good waste purities out of that, and would people accept walking that distance? That is what we tried out in the Wasteman project, and that's why it was so important to try out ways to get input from local communities about how this would be experimented with. And so we went and we did some research on design thinking and design thinking methods that could be applied, which is brand new, by the way. A waste management authority doesn't always think in terms of design thinking, in terms of user feedback and user integration in developing solutions. But this is a big part of the Wasteman project. We did this design manual for circular change, which is downloadable, by the way, on the project website. It had the subtitle, A People Perspective on Circular Flows Through Living Labs. And living labs is a central concept in the Wasteman project, where we tried some things out in one-to-one prototypes in real life. This is some very concrete examples of some of the kinds of methods we employed to talk with citizens. Workshop methods, speaking with them face to face, down at eye height, and inviting them for dinners where we had the chance to talk about the product, but also gave them something in return. Doing traditional information meetings, we did that as well. We asked the citizens to take us on a tour of their city. What were the problems they saw? That was really important for us to understand what were the challenges we had to work with. We also worked with prototyping. I mean, based on the feedback from the workshops, from the information meetings, from the guided trips, could we envision a future solution that was interesting, that tried to break some of the rigid parameters that sometimes people think of when it comes to waste collection? Could we think of a mobile waste collection vehicle, maybe? That was actually a really fun prototype and concept that we worked with in design thinking. And we did storytelling. We had citizen meetings where we had people in plenum speaking, talking about some of their inputs towards what they thought about shared waste collection systems and what it meant to them as a community, and having somebody in the back of the room drawing while the discussion was going on and visualizing the different inputs that came up. That was a strong tool to gain a common understanding of what we were actually looking at here. It's not just waste, it's community sustainable transition we're actually thinking about here. This is a prototype. This is actually what we ended up testing during the Wasteman project for 10 weeks. We did a living lab where we took the concept, scaled it up, did something real, and tried it out in some of the most difficult locations in Bornholm. That's an example of where it was located in the urban space. And what we did was, and here's some of the other examples. We had 2 mobile waste collection vehicles, by the way. We also had things that could help people sort waste at home, because we were aware that this was a very high concern, how to sort waste properly and what is the mid-level transfer sites before they go to the shared waste collection system with their waste. We also had a stationary prototype of a shared waste collection system with a reuse shelf, so people could deposit the items on the shelf in order for other people to take for free. I mean, if we as a municipal authority can stimulate avoidance of waste entering the waste stream through this way, well, this is an experimentation. This is an experiment we tried out in the project, and getting the user feedback was really important. We did analysis of it, of course. We're a technical authority, so we had to look at the waste. We did waste sorting. We weighed and analyzed. We also talked to the people before and after. What were their thoughts about the project? Did their expectations get met? And these are some of the things we we carried out to ensure that where we were going with and how this was received during the project. And yeah, just wanted to share a couple of things with you guys. So it wasn't just me on the screen talking. That I could share some pictures. I think that was my answer to your questions, Martin. What is integrated waste management systems and how we included citizens in that? We did our very best with the tools we had at hand.
Thank you very much, David. I would say it's impressive. We could see how you can make waste collections creative, actually, with design thinking. It's really, really nice. It's really interesting. And also the tangible results are really cool. And now let's move from, let's say, two specific topics, which were creative industries and waste collection, more to, let's say, cooperation as a horizontal issue or cooperation from scratch. In this, Magda will help us, who is head of International Permanent Secretariat in Associations of Polish Communes of our region Baltic, involved in our program in many projects or in our program bodies as well. But now today we would like to focus on Umbrella project, which finished recently in our program and which was focusing on boosting cooperation capacities of local actors. So Magda, my question would be to you, please tell us about the needs and challenges addressed by the project and why small local actors? And please share with us also some examples how Umbrella facilitated the cooperation between these actors. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much, Mate. Hello, everyone. I'm very glad to be here and have this opportunity to talk today about our Umbrella project. It is a great importance, I would say, to boost the capacities of small and local actors in the South Baltic Sea in our region. And that was the main goal of the project that we ran from 2018 till the end of 2020. So Euroregion Baltic and our partners coming from Poland, from Denmark, Gulburzung municipality, from Lithuania, that was Klaipeda University, from Sweden, region Kalmar, we were all discussing how to help more actors to engage in program, in South Baltic program, how to help more actors to become active on transnational and cross-border level. And yeah, how we asked them how we can support you in order for you to flourish your activities to more cross-border dimension. So the project started because in Euroregion Baltic for many years we've been working on capacity building, and we've been talking with a lot of actors coming from smaller rural areas, and they keep saying to us that the bigger municipality, the bigger institution, the better chances that they engage to transnational and cross-border cooperation. But for the smaller ones, there are still major factors that prevent them from engaging. And mostly they told us that is the lack of knowledge, so capacity building, lack of information about how can they take the first step, whom they should talk to, where to meet their partners, to which events they should go to in order to get some information, inspiration, network with others, and so on and so on. We've also heard from the smaller actors that they have significant administrative and financial challenges, and this prevents them from going to this bigger cross-border perspective. And we thought that it's such a huge shame because we, in whole South Baltic area, we have so many great local initiatives and smaller institutions, NGOs, that work on daily basis doing wonders, and they are very inspiring and very enthusiastic people, and we wanted somehow to help them. So we started Umbrella with asking them, what is like the challenge, what is the barrier, what do you need from us? We collected the input and we tried to, throughout these 3 years, like answer all these challenges. And well, we did have some sort of idea for the project from the very beginning, but then we also wanted to adjust the project as we were implementing it to make sure that this is not like our idea on how to help others and that's their needs here. And, you know, we wanted to make sure that these two actually meet together. So from the very beginning, we decided to suggest some tools, we organized awareness raising events, huge events for people coming from 5 countries, where we were explaining the cross-border cooperation from the scratch, telling them why is it important to cooperate internationally, what are the major policy frameworks like EUSBSR, so EU Strategy for the Baltic Sea region, like Sustainable Development Goals, what is Interreg South Baltic Programme and why it helps others to boost their activities. So we were starting from the very fundamental level, so to say, but it was always so important to bring people to this event so they can meet, network, build, connections, build bridges, but of course not like infrastructure, but, bridges in here that help them later to connect. And we used this type of bigger events to form smaller group of people where we saw they get to know each other and there was interest and there were some concepts for future cooperation, already in their heads. And then they were asking us what to do next. So next we invited them to so-called micro activities, which were smaller thematic meetings that we offered them, taking all the administrative, logistics and financial burden. So Umbrella was organizing their meetings. There was always this cross-border element to every meeting that we organized. And people, they didn't have to care for anything more than just come and, share knowledge, share experience, ask questions, network and work on future joint projects. And we organized over 50 micro activities like that throughout the whole 3-year period. And I would say that this is the biggest and the best outcome of our project, because not only these some of them ended up in actual projects that were submitted to Interreg South Baltic Programme and are now being implemented. Some of them we know that working on their project applications for the new financial perspective, and I'm sure we will hear more about them. But first and foremost, we see that these people meet, they connect, they like each other. They, even though the pandemic, forbid them to travel one to another, they continue the exchange over emails, via, Zoom meetings and so on. So there is actually this huge need for small and local actors to interact on a cross-border level. And the goal of Umbrella was to actually address this need. So give people what they need, meaning allow them to go to meetings abroad, to meet new people, to get inspiration. We've been inviting people who were already engaged in different projects to give some inspiration, to talk about, tips and tricks. What do you have to do when you start your first project activity? We've been inviting people, policy area coordinators from the EU strategy, to tell them there is this big thematic framework where people, experts can support you with knowledge, with other contacts, and so on and so on. So I would say in Umbrella, we reached more than 600 small and local actors coming from our 5 program countries. So I would say it is a huge difference that Umbrella makes. And most of them are still, collaborating. They are still approaching us saying, what's next? What can we do more? How can you help us more? And, we keep answering to this need and to these calls. We are now realizing Umbrella 2.0 project. But since the seed money call is open, we're already now, preparing new Umbrella concept, because we think that this work is far from being finished. There is still so many small and local actors, the one that we approached with the first project, and now they need another boost and they need more help from us. There are new actors, newcomers who are coming to this transnational and cross-border cooperation and saying, okay, so we've heard from others that there is something great about, doing what we do, but now on cross-border level. How can you help us? And we keep, receiving information like that and questions like that all the time. So we see a huge need for new Umbrella project. in order to continue, to support these newcomers and smaller actors, because some of them, they just need a small push and they are doing fantastically, working cross-border relations, but others, they need more meetings, more support, more information, maybe direct networking, it's different. It differs, and we don't exclude anyone. We invite everyone to the cooperation. And yeah, it's warms my heart to see that, people who've been with us in 2019 in Gdańsk at the meeting, now they are in one or two, cross-border projects. And you see that actually now they are offering their colleagues, from local area advice on what to do, where to go, with whom to talk, and so on and so on. So it's like, a snowball effect. And this is great. And I would say, yeah, we have to do it, and we want to continue with this because it gives us, also great joy to see that there is such a huge interest in people cooperating. And especially now after COVID, we want to meet each other. We want to create new networks and new projects with people coming from other regions and other countries. And we have to use this, great interest coming from small and local actors.
Thank you very much, Magda. I would say fascinating number, fascinating activities. I'm pretty sure we will hear about some of them in the upcoming years. And of course, we will come back later with some questions. Maybe we will look into the future, as you already touched on this topic. But now I'm turning to Dorota Pitch, who is professor at the University of Gdańsk, expert in maritime law, and lead partner in Seaplan Space Project, which is focusing on marine spatial planning for sustainable marine governance. And I would like to ask you, Dorota, could you please tell us briefly what marine spatial planning is? Why is it important for local societies, and what has been going on in the project countries in the previous years? And then could you please tell us, how did you involve local actors, mainly students, into the project activities? The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy that I have opportunity to be in this panel. So this is a great challenge to say briefly about the MSP. Maybe for me this is not so easy, but in short, thank you for all those questions, of course, Marta. Thank you very much. The MSP Marine Spatial Planning, or Maritime Spatial Planning, because this is a slight difference, but I will leave it now. In short, MSP, this is, in my opinion, something like practical way of establishing and implementing a rational organization for the use of maritime space, maritime space. And increasing, of course, interaction between all the users, or all its users of the space. For example, we can say that stakeholders of marine spatial plans or maritime spatial space are involved in this process. Of course, this is very important to have in mind the principles of sustainable development. And of course, very important element, the social economic objectives. And I think here we should pay a special attention for going towards open mind process here within the framework of management. But the important thing is that MSP is not or does not mean the same as management of human activities, because the MSP is one of the elements of human activity, of human management. I mean, especially here about the sustainable marine governance, which includes, in addition to planning, scientific research, consultations, social participation, especially reporting, impact assessments, monitoring, and of course, funding. So from a functional point of view, marine spatial planning is a process that is aimed at distributing space dynamically. That's one of the feature into numerous types of human use of the sea. Or we can say also that this is introducing that MSP also introducing time constraints on its use and even exclusions in order to avoid conflicts. This is very important, in order to avoid conflicts between different users of the environment, and to improve the management of human activities and at the use of marine and coastal resources. So what is important in such understanding of MSP, a multidisciplinary approach is very, very important. It's a must. It's necessary, and it should take into account anthropogenic and human development, as well as ecosystem and natural environmental aspects. So the transparent, cross-cutting, and auditable marine planning and governance are limited in practice. What is needed now and for the future, in my opinion, cooperation and education. So to sum up, the maritime spatial planning is a new type of sustainable marine governance process, and MSP is developed at the European Union mainly on the basis of the EU MSP directive of 2014, the very important act of EU legislation. In this meaning, the MSP is a cornerstone of EU Blue growth strategy, as well as the EU integrated maritime policy. It requires new skills. This is important from the point of view of the Sea-Plan Space project, that MSP requires new skills, new type of knowledge. And in 2017, when we started in the University of Gdańsk, when we started to work on the Sea-Plan Space application form, in the South Baltic area, only 2 trainings on MSP have been organized, and it was VASAP and Baltic University Programme in 2013 and Bonus Balt Space Project in 2017. However, it is very important to remember that they were mainly attended by members to the maritime administration or maritime administrations, and some PhD students, and the representatives of entities really affected by MSP, I mean local, regional governments, authorities, business, I mean private sector, sectoral agencies or NGOs have been missing. So Sea-Plan Space project aimed at filling in this gap. It was one of the main role, and is also still till the end of this year of the Sea-Plan Space project implementation. The Sea-Plan Space project ambition was and still is increasing the quality of labor force engaged in MSP dialogue, and the number of people able to understand the impact and influence of marine governance in their daily work related to blue growth. This has been done by cross-border training and networking according to the jointly prepared training curricula, paying attention of national specificities in MSP in each of every 5 countries which are really involved in Sea-Plan Space project. Therefore, the key target group are professionals at local municipal administrative level, in companies and communities, students that plan to work there in the field of blue growth, stimulation of development. Sea Space project made, in my opinion, important contribution to the implementation of the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region, as well as Europe 2020 and Blue Growth strategy, by some activities, some tasks, but activities especially. By strengthening transnational activeness and skilled labor force in the South Baltic area, blue and green economy, by increased human resources capacities, by development cross-border cooperation capacity of local authorities, universities, I mean students mainly, but not only students also. This is very important to have in mind, that networking in which we have engaged many people, many scientists, many trainers, and this is very, very important for implementation of Sea Space project. We built it from the beginning. So business, of course, I mean, private entities are also here involved, and other stakeholders, especially NGOs. So one thing more, improve cross-border cooperation connectivity for a functional blue and green skilled labor force in this area of MSP. And finally, I think that the project, the Sea Space project, increase employability of more. I know that it is more than 200 people in acquired new attractive skills. So as a part of the project, we together with Sea Space project partners, we conducted Sea Space training in 5 countries, led by the project partners. Sea Space International Summer School, this is the second activity in the educational field. And we prepared the Sea Space webinar, consists of 20 movies. Each of these is devoted to specific topic, to specific subject of MSP, including MSP terminology, MSP principles, MSP instruments, MSP objectives, stakeholder participation in MSP, MSP evaluation and monitoring, that very important topic for now and for the future, and MSP culture, maritime cultural heritage, especially, as well as MSP climate change and MSP and sustainable marine governance. So sum up, in general, I think that it can be considered that in the Sea Space project, we educate to MSP. We educate to MSP in a view to strengthening competences for the implementation of sustainable development goals. Therefore, the idea of the Sea Space project was to show the practical problems of marine or maritime spatial planning, its instruments in a broader perspective of managing the oceans and the seas in a sustainable manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dorota, for this interesting presentation. It was really fascinating, and I'm sure we will have some questions. But before this session, we have a speaker, last but not least. And when we talk about the blue future or any kind of maritime activities, we cannot skip ports. And here we have Christopher, who is representing Connect to Small Ports project, which focused on digitization of small ports. So I would like to ask you, Christopher, to please tell more about the project, the challenges, the needs you addressed. How did you involve students, experts into project activities, and what the project did in maybe not green transition, but blue transition? The floor is yours, Christopher.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. And I know that the time schedule is quite short, but if you don't mind, I do have a short presentation. It is a little bit older, but I will just share my screen, which is quite good to introduce the basic idea of the Connect to Small Ports. As you mentioned, the main objective is, of course, to now I'm searching for it here. Okay. I hope you can see this introduction slide. I'm not sure. Just tell me. To strengthen the digital readiness of ports in the South Baltic, why should we take a look on smaller ports? Let's say basically 2/3 of our ports in the Baltics are small or medium sized. It is even not really defined in the common sense what is a small or medium size. And as you hear today, it's not homeschooling, it's home kindergarten. I'm sorry, but sometimes it is as it is. Okay. Coming back, well, why is it important to strengthen especially smaller ports? If we think a little bit about it, especially when we come back to Interreg programs, for example, they have, let's say, the challenge that small teams in the ports need to do everything. So we really recognize that ports do not have the time, they do not have the capacity, actually, in terms of third-party funding. So we are very, very glad to have them on board, but this is as direct partners, actually, but this is already, let's say, a challenge to keep them in the partnership, to have them in a partnership, because you need to assist in every step in terms of reporting project progress, activities, working packages. All this project language is already an internal challenge, I would call it, for such kind of a project. However, coming back a little bit to the topic of society, we know that ports are very, very important economic units, and basically we should not call them units. We already changed our view into ecosystems. So ports are not some kind of fixed units, they are ecosystems. And we see especially benefits when we have a broader view. If we think on this typical term, smart cities, smart ports, green cities, green ports, we already have the relation to the community there. So we see potential, especially in terms of spillover effects. If we can push the ports, which small and medium-sized ports are often the biggest employers in the region, and if we can push them, we might have positive spillovers, let's say, to the community, to the society, to the cities, so far and so on. Let me just show one more thing. If we talk about ports, often people think like this: okay, that's a port. If we put it more to small and medium-sized ports, then our target group looks like this. This is, of course, a very, very small port. I don't know if our main target group is, of course, Port of Wismar, Port of Stralsund. Those are the ones we are working very close with and have as project partners. But if we think on this picture, and now we need to talk about digitalization, it is a little bit more than just put some Wi-Fi to the ports. So the challenge is really demand-based. So every port has an own demand in terms of digitalization. And just a few numbers to underline this. There are a lot of digital solutions out there for ports, especially if you think on all these software simulations on container terminals. But as you see here, containers are not really an issue for small and medium-sized ports. We have dry bulk, we have liquid bulk, we even have not even specified the goods, as you can see here in Sassnitz. So half of the cargo we cannot specify. So again, we need individual solutions for the ports. And that's a very, very challenging issue for us. Just a few words, because I'm already out of time, more or less. Of course, we started to audit the digital readiness, which is done, which is also available on our website. There's a very nice digital map that I really recommend to have a look on. And then, of course, we needed to have a strategy design. And then we started piloting. And now we are exactly in this phase to finalize a lot of pilots and reports. We have done an environmental monitoring in Klaipėda. We developed a fully new blockchain solution as a logistical tool also for Klaipėda. So there are a lot of things ongoing, and we need to finalize them because the project end is coming closer. And of course, in the end, we want to transfer the knowledge, the best practices, which we are already doing. And at that part, I would like to come back to the questions on students and experts. We have developed a course portfolio, which is, let's say, dedicated to course, but also very interesting for the majority, because we have one course developed on blockchain and IoT. And this is a general overview. What is blockchain? What is IoT? And we really recognize that these terms are all over. They are very fancy, they are new, but we do not really know exactly. So, I mean, just a few people can claim that they can explain detailed what is a blockchain, how does it work, so far and so on. And this is very attractive also to students. We see it that that the majority of the certificates are going to students. And of course, we involved experts in this development, and through some webinars we had. We opened the floor for experts to provide some digital solutions. So we try to get them all involved. And the next step is to have an external evaluation of our project outcomes. So again, we try to get the maritime experts on board. And of course, to not only to evaluate our own results, but also get somehow an overview on future challenges, because the seed money call was mentioned, and we see a good opportunity to continue on this work. So I hope this brief overview introduces the project quite well, and yeah, so that's all from my side.
Thank you very much, Christopher. And here we arrive to the end of the first round, let's say. So now let's continue with questions, and we prepared questions, but I'm also encouraging our panelists to reflect on each other or ask questions. But as a first, I would like to come back to Monica. We saw that you are really active in creative industries, and if I can share a small personal detail, some years ago I also had the chance to work a bit with them. And what fascinated me, or what was really interesting me, is like, it's a very basic question: how to define creative. What is creative? And this comes as an interesting and crucial thing if we would like to address creative people, because who are creative people? Which are creative companies? Of course, we can talk about codes of economic activities, but then we miss out a lot of people that perform creative things, but maybe not in a creative organization, or not connected to any kind of formal organization. And I really liked the term you use in creative clusters, creative protagonists. So please tell us, like, who are these people, and how could you find them and get them on board? Because they are sometimes, let's say, in my opinion or in my experience, sometimes, let's say, hiding in the society, and it's difficult to find them. After the long question, the floor is yours.
So this is like the huge question about, creativity, and this term is of course very like unfair. Let's say the creative industries, it's very unfair because like we had this discussion that you can have a person who is selling, I don't know, fruits and vegetables and can be super creative and selling this fruits and vegetables in very creative way. Unfortunately, we are not including the sellers of the fruit and vegetables into the creative industries. Like the discussion about the definition is huge. Like you have like plenty of scientists and who are behind that and trying to find out the definition. I'm stuck with the definition that says that there are people who are using the unique talent to to set up some business and make money and positive change based on this unique talent, and have a capacity to involve other people into their business. So, for example, when we are talking about the artists, like we have a painting here, yeah. So, like I bought it in Warsaw, and this woman is an artist. So she has this internal will of sharing her talent, but she's just she's just painting that, and she's just painting that because she has this will of painting. So she's an artist, she's a culture industry. But then the creative industries are the people who has talent, but then they can cooperate with the clients they have. So, for example, designer. When we are talking about the designer, designer use the talent, but then has to have a capacity to talk with the ecosystem around. So has to listen what their clients want, you know, like what kind of logo, visual identification, user experience, etc., etc. This company needs. So using the talent, but need to cooperate with the outside world. And of course, you know, like both are needed. You know, like we need this people who just do whatever they want, and they just share the vision of the life through the art. It's super needed, as we saw that especially during the pandemic, when films, music, I don't know, like some exhibitions that we could visit just help us through this pandemic time, because we were stuck at home, and we just really lack this feeling of the community, and that we are just participating in the events that unite us somehow. And art has this artifact that art connects us. So when we are going to the exhibition, when we are going to the concert, for a while we are connected and we are experience the same. So these people are these people are like hidden. Some of them, they are super great businessmen, and they just know how to perform. But you know, like for us in our region, the luck is that we are having the Academy of Art that I'm cooperating very closely. Academy of Art is the youngest Academy of Art in Poland. It's operating for 11 years right now only, so it's very young compared to the other academies. So we have this creative hub in Szczecin, and this is where I usually look for young talents and for young creatives with whom we can cooperate. They are great. They have a super nice vision of the world, and us as a media design and incubator of art through the projects that we are conducting together with the international partners, we just somehow boost their like capacity of grow and run their own business.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to continue and ask maybe if you can share us with an example, because we heard a lot about art, but what creative industries can offer in terms of blue and green growth, if you have some example from your project or from your other experience.
Yeah, so I will go for the CityCC project. You know, Wismar University is the lead partner of that initiative. We were working for 3 years. The full name is the cooperation between the creative and the traditional industry. And our main focus was the blue and green companies, and the creatives were some kind of boost for them. So we were, first of all, like looking how we can put these worlds together, because it's very difficult. On one hand, you have the sports, you have the art industry, the people who are just thinking in the terms of business. Sometimes they are very traditional also with the approach of solving the problems and issues. And on the other hand, you have this creative industry that it's very agile, flexible, you know, like has sometimes very crazy ideas, but very good ideas. So we put together these two words. We try to find out the interpreters of or translators of these two different words. So we had these creative brokers inside between these words who could understand both languages and both challenges and approaches. And then we try to just put them together and try to develop some prototypes. We ended up with the 34 prototypes. And from of course, like brilliant one, but I will focus on Szczecin. So we were cooperating with the maritime engineer who was responsible for the black boxes on the ship. So as the airplane ship has the black boxes, and if something happened on the ship, the authorities has to come and just that checking each data on the black box. And he said, okay, you know, like I have an idea that I would like to put all this data together, and in the real time you can see what is happening on the ship. So the owner of the ship can see that, then like if there's an accident or something like that, authorities can see that, the captain can see that. So there are like very many target groups. And with this engineer, we developed the 3D movie that he can just communicate easily his idea, and we try to just, you know, like build his corporate identity. So, you know, how he can communicate, the storytelling we use the design thinking as David was mentioned in this process. So just to help him to first of all set up who is his target group, and then how he can communicate that and how he can step further. Of course, we were talking only about the prototype, so the main product, he's working on this, but we just, you know, kick off him on the market with his idea, with using the creative people from Szczecin.
Thank you very much. And then following this line of thinking, maybe I reverse the order a bit, and I'm asking Christopher, because I know that you also had some creatives on board in your project. Maybe you didn't call them like that, but you implemented portathons, which is, I think, a very creative process. So could you, in a few sentences, tell us about these portathons and outcomes in terms of local society and Blue Grove? The floor is yours, Christopher.
Yes, of course. As you mentioned, we organized the portathon, which is actually, a hackathon for ports. That's why this name. And this year we had the third version, and we would really like to enlarge this event yearly. So I guess basically the idea of hackathon, I don't need to introduce. You know that small teams have 48 hours to develop some solutions. And what we did was, well, we had Port of Hamburg, Port of Klaipeda, so far and so on board to give us real challenges. So it's not like we just developed some challenges. We had them from the ports. So we had this practical contribution to their problems. And there have been, in terms of green transition, there have been several problems. The main one is, or was more or less, how to efficiently monitor pollution from port operations and how to connect them. So of course, you can have kind of an environment monitoring with fixed sensors, but the main question was, okay, how can we connect them to port operations to know which operations have the biggest influence on the cities? As I mentioned, ports, small, medium-sized ports are often very close to city centers. So this was a big thing, and there have been a lot of good ideas, mainly using drones. So this was one main outcome. Another one I would really like to mention is, which was really surprising for all of us, is that if you have some oil pollution on the water, then they developed a small machine based on hair. So human hair, because human hair, 1 kilogram can put together 8 liters of oil. So what they do is they develop small ships with this hair in it, and if you have an oil spillover, then they can go autonomously to this and put it together, or take it from the water. So those solutions, I was really impressed because I didn't know about this power our hair has. So we had some kind of those solutions, and we want to develop them, because now we have the theoretical concept, and now we need to make the next steps into prototypes. And if we think on prototypes, then I'm coming back to Monica with our idea on creative progress. So we can utilize from CTCC what we already do. We always try to find those connecting points between projects. So there are some approaches. If we talk about digitalization, it is often very connected to environmental change. So in this let's say with these examples, we do have, of course, some approaches to have not only a digital change, but also have an impact on green transition for the ports.
Thank you very much, Christopher. And really nice solutions, especially with the hair, very futuristic for me at least. So with this turn, having this said, let's turn a bit to the future. First, I will turn to Magda actually. And I would like to say one thing, because last week we had a networking meeting and Magda, you said something that really caught my attention. You said people are experts on the local level. And I really like this phrase. And I know that you are involved in the programming of the next process, and Umbrella also had some activities in this regard. So I would like to ask you if you could talk a bit about Umbrella's activities in terms of the new perspectives, and maybe what topics were brought up by the local partners, by the local NGOs, newcomers, society, and maybe they are included into the cooperation program. So Magda, please.
Yes, thank you so much. And actually, thank you for this question, because that was what I was meaning to talk about if I would have a chance still to give you some input. Because indeed, small and local actors and those newcomers who are interested in starting the transnational cooperation, they were very happy when we asked them, when we invite them to engage to programming the new Interreg South Baltic Programme for 2021-2027. And we received a great and fantastic feedback from them. So like we invited people, you know, you want to be active in cross-border cooperation in the future, then tell us what are the current hot topics, you know, what are the trends in your thematic areas that you're working with on local level. You're the experts here, you know which topics and subjects we should talk about more in the new program. So give us feedback so we can like structure the new program and make it more tailor-made based on your requirements. And if I can share with you screen, I can show you, this is the visual picture coming from one of four events we organized within the Umbrella project that was organized last year. 4 focus group meetings with people coming from 5 program countries, usually representing small and local actors, but also bigger, more prominent institutions, so to say. So also regional authorities, companies, incubators, universities, and so on and so on. And we asked people to come to 4 different meetings and talk with us. What are your needs and the topics you would like the program to like highlight in the new perspective? In 4 areas. So first one was blue and green growth. Then the second meeting was about the energy transition and connectivity. The third meeting was about tourism and culture, and the fourth one about the civil society and engagement of new actors. And here you can see the variety of topics that we talked about when discussing blue and green growth. And we got so many great input, you know, from our participants. We had around 35 people in, you know, participating in each group, and they were giving us specific, you know, detailed information, like if we talk about the reuse of rainwater, then what type of activities they would like to see as possible in the future programming perspective, so that they can, for instance, do some test installation or some pilotage. And they were explaining like step by step, how would they do it? So, you know, it was impressive to see that they have the idea, they know what to do, they know exactly how to do it. And what they were just looking for was the framework to allow it for them, you know, to engage and cooperate. And what we were saying during these meetings, and I can show now, you see, these are the examples of sustainable, innovative tourism and culture workshop. What we've been saying to them is like, so you know what is needed, you know how you would like to tackle this problem and what actions, like step by step, you would like to undertake. Do you have partners coming from other countries? Because this is a cross-border program, and the topics you're mentioning, they have the cross-border potential, yeah? And there would be such a great added value if we could like think about them together and join forces and create the synergies, because, well, we all know it's so good when we have experts from local area working on a topic, but if we combine their expertise with local experts coming from 2, 3, or even 4 other countries, then wow, it's just, you know, it's huge improvement, and the results are so much better. So that's what we talked about here, the last slide about building civil and inclusive society. Some topics and some comments we received from people, well, quite well known to us, but some were, you know, very innovative and very interesting to see that, well, you know, we're working, I'm also engaged to the Joint Programming Committee, so I'm working on the new program for South Baltic for 2 years now with other experts. But yeah, we are like, you know, this group of people, and of course we need to ask also people coming from local level, you know, organizing these bottom-up initiatives about their needs and their input, and we ask them to assess what we present, because it's so important to see that all the levels, you know, of governments are working together. And many times we saw that the same topic, each of, you know, types of the actors, we see it from different perspective. So like having the possibility to finally take a look at it, thanks to meetings like we did in Umbrella, from all different perspectives, that what gives you, you know, the broad picture. And I'm sure this is one of the examples of this added value that we all look for when we think about cross-border cooperation in South Baltic Sea and in the Baltic Sea region in general.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, there were some familiar topics on the screen shared, and we are excited to see them first in the seed money call and then in the next program. And talking about hot topics or recent developments, I believe also MSPs are a hot topic today. And I would like to ask Dorota, because I know things are going on, at least in Tri-City, because you joined the Center for Sustainable Development with Sea-Plan Space Project. I know there was a meeting last week in the Marshal's office, which is our regional authority in Poland. So Dorota, could you please let us know what's going on in this regards recently, and what is the...
Thank you, Matthew, with pleasure. It was a very good decision, because in January 2021, this year, in the University of Gdańsk was launched the Center for the Sustainable Development. I'm the part of this center, and the directive of the center is Professor Sylwia Mrozowska, and the center implements specific programs. And one of the programs, and I'm the coordinator of this program, is Education for Sustainable Development. Under this program, we prepared and developed the postgraduate studies, and the first of these studies are dedicated to the offshore wind energy, and the second, on which we are now very hard work, this is the postgraduate study dedicated to climate change. So this is very important from my point of view, because I work at the University of Gdańsk for many years. This is now 25 years. I have anniversary in this year, and I started to educate my students in the subject of sustainable development at the beginning of my career, because my doctoral thesis was strictly involved with the process of sustainable development in the Baltic Sea area. And during these 25 years, I observed many different approaches to sustainable development and implementation of sustainable development goals. So now I'm really happy that in the University of Gdańsk, we have this center, because this is a very good opportunity for us as a University of Gdańsk, the university in the Baltic Sea region, in the South Baltic area, to develop in this very important area in which or to which we have no alternative now, because we have only sustainable development. I'm pretty sure that that's the only way for us, not only in the Baltic Sea region, but in the global scale. So this is very important for me, and because from many years I try to cooperate with public administration at the local level, at the municipal level, at the governmental level, and I gathered many experiences in this. The consequences of my experience was that I invited to the Seaplan Space project, for example, as associated partners, governmental administration. I mean here about the director of the Maritime Office in Gdynia, who is engaged, was and is, of course, in the process in the maritime spatial planning, especially for preparing the MSP plan for Poland. So it was for me very, very important to have in the Seaplan Space project many diversified entities, also public administration and local entities. So this is very important, and I cooperate, for example, with Marshall Office. And during my last experience in cooperation with Marshall Office and other entities, and during some meetings dedicated to the offshore wind energy, because offshore wind energy was also a subject of MSP, of Seaplan Space project, and this is the part of activity in MSP. I prepared some presentation about the sustainable marine governance from the regional point of view, the approaches, the interests, the idea, etc. And I gave the proposition to be a part of the offshore wind energy platform, which is coordinated by the Marshall Office of Pomerania Voivodeship. So this is important to cooperate with many people, with many actors. And I would like to say one thing. Thank you, Magda Leszczyna-Rzucidło, for your presentation. Thank you, Magda, very much, because your experiences are very close to me, not only in the context of MSP, but in the general context. So thank you for sharing your experiences. And you mentioned a few minutes ago about the framework. I understand it very much, because as you said, there are many entities who would like to work in many areas, horizontally, vertically, in every manner, we can say. But the framework is important. In MSP, this is the marine order or marine sea space order. And thanks to directive, MSP directive of the European Union, we have something like framework, very general, but also with main obligation to prepare plans. And most of the marine member states of the European Union now have these plans, these MSP plans, and or are very close to end the process in the first cycle of MSP. So this is very, very important to have not only the idea, the concept, the common sense in mind, but also something which give us the framework for management, for stewardship, for governance, for be a part of some structure, some organisms, as you can say, you can call it. So this is very important to be very close, to work on connectivity, to have in mind that the value or values of cooperation are the main driving force for us for the future now and for the future. So we should educate to cooperation, to cooperation. And when we are talking about the horizontal areas, horizontal subject, but or approaches, but of course we have also some vertical or sectoral one. Maybe.
Thank you very much, Dorota, for this nice presentation, and also for the motivation, I would say, because for me it was motivating, and we are all into action for a blue and green future, if I may quote our motto of our next program. And continuing with looking on the future, I will call David now, and I will start with the date 2032, which is the date when Bornholm is planning to be a plastic waste-free island, meaning recycling all the waste, if I'm not mistaken, that was on the island. And I would like to ask you how the project helped in this process, especially involving the local citizens, because without them, I think it's not gonna work out. So how this involvement of the local citizens helped achieving this goal, and also how these connections that were established with BOFA between the citizens will help your daily activities. And I would like to just technical remarks. If anyone has a question, please send us in chat or in the Q&A section during David's talk, and then we will have a few minutes questions answer session. But now, David, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mate. You're right. I didn't get too much into that as part of my introduction to the Wasteman project. We work with integrated waste management systems, and we work with stakeholders, and we work with citizens, and engaging them in design thinking and creating prototypes, and work, as I introduced the project, within the EU's Circular Economy Action Plan framework, with the changes in the waste framework directives that govern and set the direction for how municipalities like us should work with waste systems. But I did not mention too much about exactly what you're saying, Mate, that in Bornholm, we actually were an outlier in the Danish grouping of municipalities, because we're the only ones so far to have come out and said we want to completely phase out waste incineration as a treatment option for waste. I'm sitting right now in an office that's connected to a waste incineration plant behind me, and that's going to be decommissioned by 2032. By that time, the local politically backed vision on Bornholm is for all waste to be prevented or reused or recycled, all fractions. We're even talking about landfilling here. So it sets a very high bar for all of the innovation activities that have to take place on the island. Now, what can we offer? We can offer a good test site, a good test bed for innovative approaches. And we don't have all the answers to all of these things. Municipalities all across Denmark, all across the South Baltic region, all across Europe are struggling with how to reach the recycling rates. But we're actually going out and saying we want to eliminate waste altogether, essentially, by making sure all of it goes back into the system. It's a big ask. And to the question of what is the importance of communities, what is how can we get them on board, how do they fit into this? This big visionary thinking about a waste-free island that we have by 2032, well, they're absolutely crucial. What we did in the Wasteman project was we leveraged connections with local village associations. Bornholm is not a super urbanized municipality. It consists of the biggest town. It has a populace of 12,000 people. and the rest of the island is interspersed with small small villages. And one of the main key actors when you look at the landscape like that are local champions who take active part in transitioning local sustainability transitions in their local communities. And this usually takes the form of village associations. So what we did there in the Wasteman project was reach out to them and say, hey, can we partner together with co-organizing these co-design events where we invite people in your catchment area, in your village, to take part and have a say in or try to set the direction for the prototype development, for example, that was happening in the Wasteman project. That's a practice that we are upscaling at the moment. What happened at the same time as we were running these experimentation and prototyping and design thinking activities in the project Wasteman BOFA, we were at the same time developing an actual public procurement of innovative waste collection systems, a massive upgrading of our infrastructure. This was happening in parallel, and the learnings from the Wasteman project about talking with and connecting with the village associations, for example, that is being, you could say, upgraded now to an actual rolling out of a new waste collection system. Case in point, in the Wasteman project, we had a couple of prototypes of some interesting things we tested out in different villages. But in this massive upscaling, for our catchment area, we will be implementing 100+ shared waste collection systems. It's a massive investment, and we're doing it in real life. This is really happening. And at the moment, I have colleagues going door to door with the different village associations, going to them into dialogue with what is the actual placement? Where should we put these? What are the functional requirements? What are the aesthetic requirements that you require as villages and representatives of your local communities for this in order to be socially accepted? A very concrete example of how we're trying to take the partnership with communities to a higher level, and it's not easy always. They will always come up with differing opinions and they always give pushback, and that's part and parcel of when you go from an experimentation phase to an implementation phase. That the opinions become harder, the opinions become sharper, and they more easily take in an opposition role to what a public authority wants to be. But we don't want to be the big bad guys. We want to be an authority that really takes co-design and discussion and dialogue to heart. So it's a tension there, and we have to continually work on it. We have to take the learnings from the Wasteman project and continue to work with them. And I hope that's something that can be spread out and something we can share to the rest of the South Baltic area, regardless of whether you're in Poland or Lithuania or Denmark. The practice and the general approach is something that I think is a win-win on all parties, because if you don't talk with local communities, if you don't talk with something like village associations, we end up with massive resistance to infrastructural change projects. Another thing I just want to quickly mention in this respect with regards to having the citizenry on board and as partners in a sustainable transition to a circular economy, right? It's important to be forward-thinking, and by that I mean very forward-thinking in terms of future generations. BOFA we work with very raw, hardcore technical waste collection infrastructure, but we also work with changing and educating minds. One of the big activity areas we have is we call it the school service. So it has to do with partnering with local schools in all of Bornholm, inviting every single school and every single age group to come by BOFA to have a look at the facilities. We have a guest reception center, a visitor center, where we come in and give talks about what is waste, what is circular economy, what can you do? And we do this because change comes from the youngest. I mean, the most ones who are adaptable to change and can bring and actually, they're actually a multiplier in a societal transition. It's children. And here we see another synergy with the Wasteman project, because what we came out with the Wasteman project was very tangible prototypes for waste collection systems. They were fun, they were mobile. They have a secondary purpose now because the living labs have ended. We've done our experimentation, but it lives on. And I just want to quickly share something here. this is a completely different setting. This is not in our test village. This is now the wasteman prototypes are being transported from school to school, so they can take part in activities where children understand or get taught what is the importance of sorting, what happens with it, why is it important for circular economy, getting them to reflect upon what that means for society at large, and what can they do as persons to disseminate this broader within their families and that kind of thing. The best thing is to have a child tell to their parents how they sort. That's effective partnering and communication to that age group. And you see, this is my colleague Brian who's explaining how it works. It's funny thing is there's a locking mechanism on this prototype. It's powered by solar cells at the top, and it is an RFID chip that is used using proximity. You put it close to the locking mechanism, and the thing opens, and you can put in your waste. He made something fun out of it. He's holding a sword. So, and the sword has an integrated RFID chip at the end of it. So he made a narrative storytelling about how you can sort of slay the waste monster, I suppose, and by wielding the sword and using it to open the shared waste collection system, so kids can deposit their waste in there. So I thought, Wasteman produced something very small. It's a simple prototype, but I think it has a lot of follow-on effects which are actually quite important to the organization in many aspects.
Thank you very much, David. And well, if you start at this age, I think becoming waste-free won't be so difficult till 2032 for you. Thank you very much for the discussion, for your insights to all panelists. And besides some technical questions about distributing materials and video, I don't see other questions in the chat or in Q&A section. But before closing this part, I would like to ask each of you to please really briefly, 1 minute, maximum 2 minutes, please summarize what are your takeaways from this discussion, or share something that you think it's really important, but we didn't have time for that. Really, we are closing at 11, so I'm asking you to be concise, 1 minute or maximum 2. Monica, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I will use this opportunity because everyone had such a nice presentation, and just, I feel a little bit sorry that I didn't prepare like anything special for today, but I just quickly show you because we were discussing on my mess on the desktop. So I just want to show you, like how does it look when we just really like meet and conduct these workshops and meetings. So it's real, like we have plenty of people who are connected by the creativity, by the culture, and yeah, many discussions, many meetings, many brilliant ideas. This is from the Design Plus conference, the one that I told you. So a part of these workshops that we structure, we have this discussions in the corridors. People are sharing, connecting, and meeting. So just it's brilliant, like, and this flow of the ideas it's enormous. And this is what I'm taking today from that meeting, because when I see again, so many beautiful and creative people here who just are experts in their field, and they just really dedicate their time, their heart, their energy to develop and implement the projects that they believe in, because I can see that everyone just, it's really into the project and in the subject. So this is what I like about the South Baltic program, is that there are people behind the projects, and there are real people who believe in what they are doing, and these projects are really connected to the local challenges and the local issues that we have here. So it's what I like about the South Baltic program, that we really focus on the things that are important for us and for our local community. So this is what I'm taking with me today, and thank you for sharing this this beautiful stories. And right now I will try to just disconnect I would just to try find the panel and stop sharing my screen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Monica, not just for this talk, but for the whole participation. And let's follow our initial order. So I'm coming again to David. Please, David, quickly, what is your takeaway from today?
Well, I think it's just super interesting to see that regardless of whatever sector these projects we're working with may be working within, whether it be creative industries or maritime spatial governance and planning or port authority management or what have you, we have a commonality in approaches and a common understanding of what the importance is to include communities in what we do. And I'm also, another takeaway I have is it's very heartening to see that this is also a very central element in the future programming of the South Baltic Programme. So thanks. Also, I'd like to echo the thanks to Magna for your presentation, Magna, from my side, because it is good to see that, yeah, circular economy, from my perspective, is still in there. And if you could merge that with the inclusiveness aspect, I mean, that's how we get to being waste-free, not only in Bornholm, but hopefully all over the region.
Thank you very much, David. And I'm not taking too much time, so Magda, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so for me, this is like the best takeaway from today is that now it's really the time for the local perspective. And I would say that this new programming period, this is the time for bottom-up actors. There is a great need to engage them. This is a good moment to invite them to programs, to projects. We see that there is a need, but there is also a great expertise and great knowledge. And I'm happy to say that now the programs are seeing the importance of local actors and yeah, giving them more tools and more possibilities to become part of this, you know, transnational cooperation activities and projects. So for me, it's very important that, you know, it's not only this so-called same suspects club, so the same actors, you know, being in all the same projects, but it's also us from these projects inviting new people to them. And it's so important that we have, you know, new people with new ideas, with new perspectives. And yeah, sometimes it's worth, you know, to get someone new on board to turn our world upside down, because it you know, it will give a great prospects for the future. Thank you.
Exactly. We need to open our doors to everyone, because you never know what idea will come up. And please, Dorota, what is your takeaway?
For me, the simplest thing is the most important: to meet with you, with everybody, with our participants, with other people who are engaged in development in the not only South Baltic area, but also in Baltic Sea region. And this is the most important, to meet, to speak, to share experiences, to be a part of something which I can call the lessons learned. Exactly. So this is for me the most important. And this kind of meeting gave me the power to act, the power to do something special, something which is not sometimes quite simple, like the challenges in MSP, for example, or the implementation or acting for the implementation of the sustainable development goals. So I would like to say at the end that I'm pretty sure that the role of the universities, like the University of Gdańsk, is to educate to sustainable development, because this is important to be prepared and be a part of the process of implementation of the sustainable development goals. So thank you very much for this meeting, and I'm pretty sure also that the values of cooperation are the must for today and for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dorota. And Christopher?
Yeah, so as last person, of course, I don't want to repeat anything what was mentioned already. So I will take another point, which I recognize today again, is that we all as project coordinators, maybe also as program representatives, need to spend more focus on cross-project activities, because I just mentioned today that there are so many points that somehow combine the projects. I mean, maybe this sustainable development is more or less the main phrase for all of the projects, and why not putting forces more together? Maybe this could be something, again, for us as coordinators for the next funding period, to spend more time and more focus on this. We have some good experiences with that, with the SEGMA project, which is also in the South Baltic, and we jointly developed the DigiTech port initiative so far and so on, but still this is only 2 projects, and I see way more potential in this to have some greater value out of the program itself.
Thank you very much, Christopher. And having this said, I'm concluding this discussion. A big thank you to all of you. I think that if we have such nice and motivated people on board, the future won't be just green and blue, but also bright for us. Thank you very much. And I'm giving back the word to my Christina.
Thank you very much for this fruitful and encouraging discussion. I do hope that after this session, our participants will be able to identify which option for close partnership is suitable for their organizations and projects, and how to engage local society for green recovery and more sustainable regions. Your feedback will be very valuable for us, so I kindly ask you and encourage you to fill in the evaluation survey which we prepared. You can find the link to it on the chat. And also, so our event smoothly comes to the end, and I would like to thank you all EUSBSR organizers that made it possible to conduct this event, to all the panelists for taking part in the discussion, for sharing your valuable knowledge and experience, and also to the audience for their attention. You can also follow Interreg South Baltic on Facebook and to check the recent news on our website. And from the recent news, I can tell that we have launched public consultations, and you can submit your comments until 15th of October. And also a seed money call, which aims to develop ideas to regular projects, is open until 5th of November. So thank you very much. Have a nice continuation of the day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you very much,
Bye.
Katarzyna.